Hi, good morning. Thanks for joining the webinar. Today is about understanding the basics. So over the course of the next 20 minutes, I'll be showing you how to do simple things like create contact groups, load data into the platform, send a text message, and we'll share a number of best practices along the way. And then post-send, I'll show you a few quick reports, and we should be wrapping up around about 20 past 10. My name's Andy Hemming. I look after the support process for Textlocal. At the end of the webinar, we'll give you my contact details. Should you have any questions following this session, please feel free to contact me at the end. So I'm going to start by just giving a brief housekeeping about Textlocal. So the platform's prepay, it's pay and go. There's no contracts or tie-ins, which is great. It gives you the complete flexibility to use the platform as and when you have a requirement. It's an online solution, so you'll run it completely through the website, and you'll log in by going to textlocal.com. Top right corner is the login button. You'll pop in your login credentials, and this is the first screen that you'll see. And this is just your home screen that just covers off some very basic reporting stats over a 30-day window, such as what you've sent or received, and you'll navigate around the platform just using this bar at the top. It's just a case of hovering over a header. It'll give you a drop down of options. You service the platform with credits. Credits represent messages. So in the UK, that's a 1 credit is equal to 1 message ratio. You buy normally directly through the platform just by hitting the buy button, and typically you can buy in bundles as small as 100 right through into the multi-millions. But the platform's a sliding scale, so the emphasis really, the more you buy, the cheaper the rate, and typically that will start at 4.9p, coming down to circa 2p, dependent on those volumes. So the first thing you're going to want to do as a new customer with us is clearly load your data into the system. So you'll do that by going to Context, Create Group. You would give the group a name. You can have as many groups as you wish. I'll add in there. It will then take you through to this next screen. So the first thing you'll immediately notice across the middle is that there's number, first name, last name, as well as 3 custom fields. For those that have used mail merge on today's call, this works exactly the same. So it's functionality that's allowing you to load data under set fields that would then enable you to send a mass broadcast, but when it's received by the individual, it'd be as if it's just been sent to that person specifically. So number, first name, last name would be self-explanatory. You would set the criteria for your own custom fields. So as an example, we might work in the insurance sector. You could say something like, hi, first name, car registration, custom 1 is due to expire custom 2. Or, you know, if we were using this maybe as an appointment reminder service, it might be, hi, first name, your appointment is confirmed for custom 1 with custom 2. So I'm sure from those 2 quick examples, you've got an idea of how you can use that functionality. And to get the data into the platform, you're looking to hit this Add, Paste, Upload button. So if we click that, we've now got 3 options to get the data into the system. Now the best practice, and probably the most efficient, would be to create an Excel spreadsheet from your end. You'd have a column per personalized field. So if you were doing number, first name, last name, it'd be 3 columns. If you were just doing numbers, then by all means, you'd just have the 1 column with the numbers in. The file type would be a CSV to be compatible with the platform. And then it's a simple case of hitting the upload button, selecting the file from the computer, and that data will be in there in seconds. The next option you have is the ability to paste a list into the system. I must stress this only works for numbers only, so if you were looking to use that merge feature, you couldn't use this option. So what you'll do is literally copy in the traditional format from wherever the data sits your end, and then paste into this box here, and then obviously add the numbers. And the last option you got, which should clearly be the least favorable, is the ability to just literally add the data in directly to the platform. Very handy to add to existing groups or create much smaller groups, but for those with large amounts of data, I'm sure you can see that would take some time to obviously populate. So essentially that's how you create your contact group from an existing set of data that you've already got. Textlocal don't provide data. We're not a data company. We don't share data with third parties. So any data you load into the system is completely safe. Obviously, based on our ethos of only working with like-minded, companies that want to text their customers that have opted in to do so. So the onus will be on you to build your own data. I'm sure the majority of people on today's call will already have some data they can load in. However, I'm sure as any business would, you all have aspirations to grow, compete locally, nationally, maybe even internationally with like-minded competitors. So on that basis, there is a way that you can effectively grow your database through text rather than going out and purchasing data. Clearly, if you go out and purchase data, you're now flirting with, is this a spam type message? People haven't opted in to receive the content. The data is expensive, and actually the data you source sometimes isn't necessarily for your target audience. So we normally find that return on investment for sort of cold acquisition campaigns through purchase data is very little. So I'm just going to take you through to receive and view inboxes. For the next couple of minutes, just talk about a service called the keyword shortcode. It's much more slow burn than going out and buying data all in one go, I'll admit. But essentially what the concept is, it's purchasing a word that's referable to your business. So as an example, you can see here I've set up the word webinar for today. It's then on a short number, so in our case it's 60777. So the first thing is this is memorable now. If I see this at a glance, I'm more likely to relate to webinar 60777 than I would a long mobile number. Especially if I know there's some people on the call today that work in trades. Typically within trades you might advertise on the side of your work van. If I'm stuck behind you in traffic, I might need some plastering work doing or whatever it may be. I'm more likely to remember quotes on 60777 than I would a long mobile number. So essentially it works on that basis that it's memorable first and foremost. Normally that in itself wouldn't be enough to encourage people to text in. So the whole ethos with this service is that you need to incentivize people to text in. So that's normally one of two routes. You can go down the route of offers or promotions, so text in for a discount, text in to enter. We can then set some parameters to say when we receive that message, we'll send a text back that will give them that code to quote at the point of sale for that discount. Or something as simple as thanks for entering, we'll announce shortly. The other side of the coin is you could use it more as an informative type tool, a bit like what we do ourselves. So it's a case of texting for more information about our service. We can then hit them with an auto-response with rich content embedded into that message, such as links and attachments where the customer could then click, go through to watch a YouTube video about the service, view attachments, brochures, that type of thing. So ultimately, if you go into the inbox, this is where you would set those settings. So you'll see here, we can obviously prepare a simple bounce back text. We can drop in links or attachments. I'll cover these off when I get to the send part of the system. So just hold the thought on those for the time being. But ultimately, they're call to actions. So a recipient can click a link and go through to a simple web page or open up an attachment, which could be a PDF like you would do on an email, for instance. We can then auto forward. So ultimately, we've discussed that this is a database builder. So ultimately, when people text in, they opt into your service. So the idea is when you reuse the data, it's the low-hanging fruit. These people have got an interest in your business, so they're more likely to take note of the content, which in turn should boost the response rates. Now, without this box ticked, essentially what will happen is the messages will come back into the platform. Any auto responses would be sent, as we've already discussed. If you then want to reuse that data, what you'd have to do is export the inbox onto a Excel spreadsheet. You'd save that, and then you would load that back into the system as a contact group, as I showed you before. That is a step that you can cut off by using this add sender to a group list option. So what that means is we can pre-create a contact group that has the same name as the keyword. So in this instance, webinar. When any messages come in, we'll strip the number straight from the text and pre-add it into the contact group. So the idea is then when you want to reuse the data, it's there, and you can just select the group, prepare the message, and send it. So for those that want to take part in a live demonstration of how this service would work, please take out your handsets, open up a new message. In the toolbar, if you could type 60777. That's 60777. And in the message box, literally just write the word webinar. So that's WEBINAR. That's WEBINAR. Send that text. I'll just give everybody 5 to 10 seconds to catch up. Once you've got the message, it should be the thank you for taking part in today's webinar. And as I say, just showcases the functionality. Okay. So for those that took part now, you should have had that message back. Typically, we are working with UK Tier 1 routes. So what that means in simple terms is all the messages are pushed out through your main channels, the likes of EE, O2, Vodafone, etc. So on that basis, we can normally guarantee delivery within 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, so any group that you've created will automatically appear on the left-hand side. By selecting the dot inside the circle, that selects everybody in the group. Now, we might not want to send everybody in the group, so if that's the case, you literally just hit the expand option, gives you a drop-down. You can now obviously select who needs the message, who doesn't need the message, and do it that way if you choose. On the right-hand side, this is where you now start to prepare the message, and where we really start to showcase some of the key functionality to you. So the first piece of kit we've got is the ability to send a text from a name rather than a number. Now this is advantageous on the basis that if you can send a text from a recognized source that immediately alerts your customers that it's you, they're more likely to take note of the message if they've got an interest in your business than they would if it was a number they didn't necessarily recognize. So obviously the default for this account is Textlocal, but that's very easily changed, as you can see from previous demonstrations I've done. It's just a case of going down to the bottom, add in sender, and free typing what you would like in there, up to 11 digits. We're now ready to prepare the message. So if I was to do this, that wouldn't be very good because not everybody's name is Andy. So on that basis, what you would do is insert merge fields. If you cast your mind back to obviously how we created our contact group, you'll remember these headers. It's just a case of selecting a header. That would now do a hashtag lookup under how we've loaded the data and populate it accordingly when you hit the send button. Now you do have the facility to create templates in the system. You do that here under send, templates and drafts. Once you get through to that screen, it very much looks like this. Essentially, you would then create the template and save it, and you could select the template from this drop down here, as I've done for today, just to save a bit of time. Now, a few best practices around the actual message itself, just very quickly. I mean, typically text is far outperforming any other communication channel now. I mean, we work off an average of 32% against 5% per email. I think if we look at the catalyst behind that, we all have a handset, we carry it around with us pretty much all day, every day. There's also no spam filter with a handset, so we can pretty much guarantee every message that we send will at least get read. Typically the stat for that is that 97% of messages are read in the first 5 seconds. So it goes to show why mobile is probably the most powerful communication tool that there is. So in theory, it should be a case of just loading your data in on the basis that it's opted-in data. Obviously, when you send that message out, it's just a case of sitting back and waiting for the fruitful response. That said, if it was me, I'm a one-man band, or perhaps I'm a marketing manager, the principle's still the same. If I'm spending X to get Y, I almost want a fallback plan to say, well, actually, if I'm not getting Y, is there something I can do to be proactive to ensure that I do to get value for money? And as the message would be in simple text form, there's nothing that you could do short of waiting for a customer to come back to you on the number that you've given, or obviously if you're just inviting people into store, just obviously working out whether you've been more busy than you normally would have been on that day and that time. So there is a way that you can be strategic through this text send by referring to these icons in the bottom left-hand corner. So what they represent is their free functionality, so it's not going to add any weight to the service in terms of cost, and their call to actions, typically in link form. So the ability for the recipient to click a link that could go through to something like a simple website, or maybe something a little bit more advanced like a data capture form or an attachment of some sort. Generally, it's perceived in the industry that if people receive a message, they recognize the source, they obviously read the content. If there's something there to interact with, they generally will do if they're interested. And hidden behind that link is a reporting statistic that will tell you exactly who clicked the link, what time they clicked it, but more importantly, the mobile number of the person that clicked. So actually, if response rates aren't as good as you hope, you could utilize those reports to pull details on who was interested. So, you know, if you sent 100 texts, you could pull a report to say 20 people clicked the link. You could monitor from those numbers how many of the 20 came back to you. And then for the remaining X amount, you could then send maybe a second text message to them. Maybe that text is a little bit more strategic with a further offer or promotion. That might be the catalyst to get them to come back to you. Or you could take the approach of giving that customer a call if you had the means or resource to do so, of course. It's not a cold call. They are on an opted-in database and they have already been warmed up by interacting with a text message. So I'm going to briefly run through these links with you. We're not going to go into too much depth. Obviously trying to keep to the 20 minutes for today. I will make you aware I do run a series of webinars though, so look out for future invites where we focus on certain elements of the system. The first option you've got is an attachment. This was a real game changer for Textlocal. We've managed to replicate the attachment feature on an email. So if you think what I attach to an email, you can do exactly the same to text. The file size is 10 megs, so it's pretty chunky, and that can range from Word/PDF documents right through to image and video. It's also a great character save. You may or may not be aware it's 160 characters per text message. So on that basis, if your content was to go over 160, rather than doubling the cost in terms of the credits, what you could do is obviously shorten the text down, put all of the content onto a Word document, load that into the system as an attachment, keep the text very basic then, just advising the customer to click a link for more info. Obviously the characters that sit within that link don't count towards the 160, and it's just a cost-effective way of sending that same message out. You've then got the ability to create landing pages, so not to be confused with creating your own website. It's a landing page specific to the outbound message. It's created in this system here. Again, it's not something I'm going to go into today, but we do on future webinars. But in simple terms, it works very much like Paint on your desktop. You create a page specific to the outbound message, and when the recipient clicks the link, it'll open up the page you've created. You've then got the most basic form of link, which we do, which is literally just the short link. So that's just typing in a URL to a landing page or the home page on your website. You'd use that more often than not as point of reference, I guess, on very generic type text messages. You've then got the survey tool, which is my favorite piece of functionality. Again, like the web page option, it's created in the system here. Yes, it works as it suggests as a survey tool. The ability to create one page or several pages. You know, you can have multiple choice, drop downs, you can have star raters, time, date pickers, etc. within there. It's a great way of communicating or gauging customer feedback. Where I like this system more though is actually it doubles up as a data capture service. So it's not just a survey tool, it's the ability to create a form that would allow customer participation, such as them customer leaving details for an appointment request, that they're interested in a product, they would like a call back, registering for events, promotions, etc. A really useful piece of kit. Finally, we've got our vouchers and tickets options. As these sound, it's the ability to create unique one-time ticket codes for redemption. So that could be unique to a specific customer to reward loyalty. So to stop them, you know, it's not a generic 10% off for everybody, offer end Sunday type of situation. It's a specific customer will have a unique code that would get them 10% off. This could be scanned or redeemed through the Textlocal app, which you could download through App Store, or we can integrate into an EPOS system very easily. So obviously in simple terms, it could be scanned from the handset to get the discount. So just think one-time ticket for that. That's obviously typical retail, but obviously you can flip that to, yes, it could be tickets for events, you know, football matches, cricket, rugby, etc., music concerts, and so on. We've then got the loyalty side of that. So typically that's replacing the physical loyalty card sat in your wallet, and it's obviously scanned each time, and then obviously you set the parameter to say on the 5th time it will find me out an offer to get my free coffee if that was the campaign, etc. You've got your carrots countdown here. Obviously, if this is a demo, I'm not too fussed, but in a live scenario, you'd always try and keep it to 160. And as we've already discussed, if you can't do that, then typically you'll use the attachment tool to get around that and keep the cost down. You've got the facility to auto-schedule a message. So if you knew you were in a meeting this afternoon, you could log on this morning, set the message to go out at a specific date and time, and the system would do that for you. So loosely discussed when we were creating the contact group that that we don't sell or pass on third-party information. I'll just elaborate a bit further on that. Textlocal have got a great reputation in the industry. We are recognised as market leader in our field in terms of the client base that we boast and the amount of messages that we send. And I think that's on the basis that we'll only work with like-minded customers that want to text opted-in data. States in our T's and C's that we work that way, and you know, our customers can have confidence that, you know, that their data is safe. So on that basis, we practice what we preach. We don't prospect your data for our own gains, and on that basis, we also ask that our customers use our opt-out service. It's a free service. Now, what we would advise, if you're canvassing for something, then please use the opt-out path, as your customers have the right not to receive that information. And if it's just a generic service-based message, reminding of an appointment, telling your customers your opening times over Easter, Christmas, and so on, as an existing customer, I would want to receive those messages, so we don't enforce that you use an opt-out path in that situation. Anybody that does opt out, we take care of the admin. So if you sent a text message to 100 people, 20 people opted out, the next time you log in, there's only going to be 80 there. We don't delete the data, of course, it's yours to review at any time. You can do that by going to contacts and opt-outs. We'd then obviously be ready to send the text, so we hit the send message button. Obviously we review the message, and then we send that text message out if it was relevant, and obviously that would then be sent and delivered within 3 to 5 seconds. What we'll now do is we'll go to reports. Very useful section. Here you'll be able to be proactively follow up on your database in terms of those click-throughs that we've discussed, as well as cleanse the database invalid numbers. What I'll do first is I'll take you through to the message history. These are live reports directly back from the network. It's not actually a report from Textlocal to say that we've sent the message. So if we come into groups, obviously normally here you would have a message that would have been sent, and typically in here you would be able to then view the report, and it would give you a breakdown of the amount of people that had actually physically received that message, but also those that hadn't. So it would then allow you to obviously either contact those customers to get the up-to-date number, or of course delete them. If you then go back to reports and then into short links, you can see I use this account quite a lot, so I'm just going to use this one with the most click-throughs. This is where you'll gather your information on the people that have interacted with any links that you've chosen to use. So first off, you'll get a plotted line graph of who've clicked and when they've clicked, so you can target people in sequential order. You'll then get a breakdown of device type and screen resolution. I'm often asked why this information is useful, and the simple answer is it's helping you profile your database. We've talked about the ability to create vouchers, tickets, data capture forms, web pages. If you can profile that the majority of your database have an iPhone, well, you could start to create those pages to be biased towards an iPhone. Likewise, it's also saying or plotting the click-through rate. If your click-through rate is quite high, then it's suggesting that actually you should use more links where possible, because your clients like to interact that way. Now, if I was to export as a CSV, unfortunately I can't because it's got client-sensitive data on there for data protection reasons. But if you were to export that as a CSV, what it does is it transfers it all to an Excel spreadsheet, and it's on that spreadsheet where you'll then be able to see the actual customer's number and name as well. I just view that as it's a ready-made sales sheet now. I can either load that back into the system as a group to send a text again, calling that, you know, clickers or hot leads or something, or I can pass that to a sales team to target and convert that way. So typically that's all I wanted to show you today from a basic point of view. Obviously there is a lot more I could have shown you. I could have gone into depth around various functionality. I'm quite happy to do that on a one-to-one basis if you would like, or alternatively, as I say, I do run a series of webinars once every 2 or 3 weeks, so feel free to look out for invites on those. For those that do need to contact me following the session, I'll give you my direct dial. It's 01244 573 246. That number again, 01244 573 246. Or alternatively, email me. It's andy.hemming, and that's H-E-M for mother, I-N-G. So that's andy.hemming@textlocal.com, and that's textlocal.com. Before I break, I have had a couple of questions that have come out, so I'm just quickly going to answer those, and then I'll let everybody get on with their Fridays. So there was a bit of interest around the scheduling feature. So I think the fact that you could auto-schedule was grasped. There's been a question come in around, could that be automated? The simple answer is yes, it could. You do have access, and free access, might I add, to something that's called an API. So in simple terms, that's Application Program Interface. I'll be honest, I'm not versed on the coding, I just understand the concept. So for those that want to manually integrate into the system for appointment reminders or things of that ilk, you'll need to speak to your tech guys, your end, to set this up. Essentially, you'll just direct them to our website under the developer zone. Everything they need to do that is in there. Alternatively, we do have our own tech team, so I could point you in the direction of somebody that could help for those that would need it. But in simple terms, it's always integrating our system into yours to enable an automatic process. So the easiest example I can give you would be the doctor's surgery. You book your doctor's appointment for next Friday. The receptionist will not even see our platform at all. She will make the appointment in her normal way through their diary management system. What will happen then, the day before, through the integration that we've written, our system will go in, interrogate that diary system, and send out a text automatically to all of those appointments for the next day. And that same principle can be applied to, couriers and the like, car garages for MOT, service reminders, and so on. So, there's plenty of opportunities for the API from a reminder point of view, but also it can be used for tactical marketing. I know there's a couple of hairdressers on the call today. You could use that for, customers not come in or booked an appointment for 6 weeks, so the system could recognise that and then fire out a text with an offer, tempting that customer to come back and book that appointment. There was also a question around the links and attachments. So essentially the question related to how many of those can I use within a message? And again, the simple answer is you can use as many as you like. They're free functionality. So on that basis, feel free to embed them where applicable within the message. But obviously, those links do take up characters, so just be mindful of that. So I would always try and keep to 160, just from a cost effectiveness point of view. So that's all I've got time for today. I'm conscious we have run over slightly, so I'd thank everybody for joining me. Feel free to contact me on a one-to-one, and I wish everybody a good weekend. Speak soon. Bye-bye.